Good afternoon. I'm Monisa Klein here at GBTA Broadcast Studio, and with us today is Rob Gurney, who is the CEO of oneworld. Rob, it's a pleasure to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I was just saying, it's so wonderful to be together with people and to see so many old friends and colleagues.
It really is. It feels like it's been a long time, right?
Way too long, yeah.
And what are you feeling in the convention? I know you just arrived, but what's the feeling?
Yeah, I just got in this morning, but you know, I've been really pleased with the conversations we've had. We've managed to talk to several clients, a lot of enthusiasm, very positive actually. So I'm very pleasantly surprised. It wasn't that I was expecting it to be anything but positive, but just how positive it has been has been really great.
A lot of optimism, right?
Yeah,
which is so wonderful.
So wonderful.
So oneworld has added two member airlines in the past 20 months. And what does this mean for the business travelers? What's the message here for the audience here with that announcement or that move?
Yeah, well, the message for the business travelers is that we've added two very high quality new member airlines. In chronological order, we brought Royal Air Maroc, which is our first airline based on the African continent. That's not strictly true. We have a franchise operation called Comair in South Africa, but this is the first full member airline that is in the African continent. A wonderful airline, headquartered in Casablanca in Morocco. Casablanca is the leading business city in Africa. So situated very strategically from a business travel point of view, but with a wonderful network throughout Africa. So it provides tremendous connecting opportunities with a trusted partner, and of course business customers can expect to get the full recognition array of services that they're accustomed to when flying on oneworld airlines. And of course the other member airline we brought in, actually still during the pandemic as well, early this year, is Alaska. Now Alaska, very well known, I'm sure, to most of your audience, a fantastic airline. We're so delighted to have the Alaska team. They've been so engaged since they've been part of it. In fact, it feels that they've been part of the alliance for years, even though they only joined in April. Since they made the decision to join, they've been so engaged in the whole process. What that brings to us, of course, is hundreds of new destination points, but actually 70 new destination points on our network in Africa, plus what Alaska bring, particularly in the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast. So lots more connecting opportunities, lots more spread of network, all, of course, with the full array of oneworld services.
That's great. Just adds to the value, right?
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So there's been a lot of conversation this convention about sustainability. You guys have made several announcements on sustainability in 2021. How are your member airlines working together on this topic?
Yeah, look, I'm so pleased you asked me that. It's not just the most important issue for aviation, it's the most important issue for our planet. I think everyone recognizes that. We've just had COP26. Some good outcomes from that. Maybe some people are a little disappointed on some of the aspects, but I think some very positive commitments that have been made. I mean, we had a great discussion with our governing board, which consists of the member airline CEOs, more than 2 years ago, on the criticality of sustainability and the importance of the alliance making a holistic commitment to net zero emissions. So we collectively agreed to do that last year, and we made the announcement in September of 2020 that collectively we've committed to net zero emissions by 2050. And since then, we've released a roadmap showing at a high level and an aggregated level, but the detail of how we're actually going to get there. So there is some substance to what has been said. And also since then, we've announced again across our member airlines a commitment to utilize sustainable aviation fuels for 10% of our fuel requirements by 2030. So these are really sort of tangible steps that we've taken and announced. The big benefit, though, as being part of the alliance is that it's the collaboration that exists between us. We have a wonderful sustainability board. In fact, I have a sustainability board meeting at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, right, on a particular topic that I can't talk about here because it's we're still negotiating some very exciting things. But this is a very engaged board. I can tell you that every member of our sustainability board has direct access to the airline CEOs. This is the top priority for every airline CEO in our group, and probably every airline CEO in every airline, but certainly in oneworld. But it's the opportunity to share best practice, because I think in any kind of initiative, you're going to have partners that are at different stages of development and maturity along the road, along that roadway. So it's an opportunity for us to make sure that we're operating to the highest common denominator and the highest common standard, and that's what we strive to do. And we, as I say, we've got a brilliant sustainability board. It's very well chaired by the sustainability head at IAG, which is the International Airline Group, which own British Airways in the Iberia and Aer Lingus and others. And it's, I think, one of our most active groups within oneworld right now.
Which is great. It's so wonderful to hear the emphasis and the importance of this topic, you know, throughout this convention, right? It's everybody's focused on it, and it's, you know, it's not just the bottom line, it's not just the convenience factor, it's about doing the right thing, right? So
I couldn't agree with you more. I think the way you couched that, it sounds like you sat in our governing board meeting, because that was almost the narrative that was played out to the word. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, there was some good news last week with international travel opening back up to the U.S.
Yeah.
As we see international travel coming back, how do you think global airline alliances stay relevant? You know, how are things going to be different? What's going to change?
I'm going to answer that question in a moment, but just to the point you raised, it was so wonderful. It was Monday of last week. It feels like it was a long time ago, but I think it was only last week on Monday. Sean Doyle, the CEO of British Airways, flew into New York on the first British Airways flight, BA1. They had a great event at the Empire State Building that evening. It was wonderful, wonderful to finally have the 212F rescinded and the transatlantic open at both ends. So it's fantastic news, and it could have been, the timing could have been better with GBTA. So wonderful news, and congratulations to the government and everyone that's been involved in that. It's been amazing. So, you know, back to the relevance of alliances as we move forward in this post-pandemic era. You know, our view is that alliances reaching a level of maturity needn't mean obsolescence, right? And I think it's probably fair to say that when...
Oh, important news break. NASA.
Thank you for your cooperation.
I think it's fair to say that in the early days of alliances, it was a bit of a territory grab. It was really, how do we grow quickly? How do we get representation across the key global markets? And a lot of the activity focus was really around membership growth, and that's clearly matured, even though, as I said, we've managed to bring in new members in spite of the pandemic and other issues. But there is a level of maturity, I think, that in terms of the size that the alliances has reached. And it's not to say they'll be static, but I don't think there'll be, you know, massive growth. There'll be an airline here and there that joins an alliance or may choose to move, but, you know, I'm not necessarily seeing an explosive growth in membership. So it's what are the other sources of value? And I think, you know, critically, as we emerge from the pandemic, airlines are going to be smaller. They're going to have a lot more dependence on their partners to be able to carry their passengers to the destinations that they need to go to. So the consistency of delivery of service and the whole customer experience takes on an even greater meaning. It's always been very, very important, but it takes on an even greater meaning. But also, and this is very much, you know, my personal view on it, that if we look at the catastrophic impact the pandemic has had on everyone up and down the value chain in our industry, of course airlines are not the only ones that have been very badly hit, but they have been. The industry's had to take on enormous debt to maintain its liquidity through this period. So if we look at the next sort of 5 years, a lot of the focus from the airlines generally, and I'm not talking about any specific airline, but across the industry, will be how do we repair our balance sheets? How do we get back to gearing ratios that we had prior to the pandemic? And beyond sort of what I would say mission critical things, the ability to be able to invest is going to be a bit more limited, right? So of course they'll invest in new equipment, they'll invest in sustainability initiatives and customer facing. But the area for collaboration on a community basis, I think, is there for everyone to seize. And that's really where we're going to put our focus. And I'll just give you one very simple example of that. Health credential platforms and how we integrate those platforms into our check-in flows and processes. As oneworld, we're approaching that on a community basis. We don't have our 14-member airlines all off having independent conversations with their technology providers on how to solve for this. We have a cohort of airlines that form a working group. We have a strategy group, and we're tackling that as an alliance. So I think, and there are lots more examples, I think, of that kind of deeper collaboration.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Rob, it sounds like there's so many great things happening at oneworld. Congratulations. It's great to have you guys here. And are there any closing remarks you'd like to make to this audience? I know you're such a busy person. You've got the board meeting tomorrow, so any parting words?
I think everyone here is everyone here is a very busy person. No, I'd just like to thank GBTA and the team there for putting on an amazing event. Clearly, you know, it's not been without its challenges. It had to be rescheduled, but I think that ended up being a very wise decision, and to have such a great event, they need to be congratulated. And I think the team, the new team, and the new leadership have been doing amazing work. I think the communication's excellent, so a big shout out to them, and a big shout out to everyone in our industry, from the travel managers, the travel buyers, and of course my fellow suppliers, whether they're friends and partners or whether they're competitors. It's a wonderful industry to be in, and I'm glad everyone's here.
I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
And that's a wrap today at GBTA Broadcast Studio here in Orlando, Florida. It's been a great day. Thank you.